The new Orc Codex has been revealed, and you'll have that juicy piece of paper inside of your hands on September 5th. But now we do have all of the data sheets. We have the points values that have all been revealed by several different content creators out there right now. So I am going to go ahead and break down for you what are the units to watch. If you're an Orc fan, this is a must see for you because you got to know what needs to be on your freaking tabletop because there is a lot of viability in this codex. And if you are not an Orc player, well, you're going to be playing against them, so you need to know what are the combinations and the units to be looking out for. So check it out. Guys, I'm Doc Crump. I'm a top 100 player, and I am a professional Warhammer 40 coach. I am here to bring you all of the most important information so that you can be crushing people on the table as much as possible. So let's get on into this thing because we got to know how these units are operating and which ones are the ones that are pretty scary. And trust me, there are some ones that have some cool abilities. Number 5 on my list to watch are actually the Mek Gunz. Now, this is something that we have not really seen in quite a while. On release, Orc Codex in 10th edition, they were pretty decent initially in the Bully Boys build, but after the first, I think, 2 months of the Codex, they more or less disappeared. These are the Terminator equivalents for your Orcs. They have gotten what I think is a glow up. Now, I know a lot of creators out there are actually talking about how they think Mek Gunz kind of suck now. I have a very strong disagreement with these people, and let me pitch you as to why. So they come in at admittedly a relatively pricey points of 75 for 2, 110 for 3, 185 for 5, and then 235 for a 6-man squad. Now, their basic ability is going to be permanent AOC. These guys have 3 wounds each. They move 5. They are a toughness of 6 with a 2-up armor save. A permanent armor of contempt is pretty darn powerful. How many times have you hated shooting into a Terminator squad when they pop armor or contempt? Probably quite often. Now stack that with all the glorious rules of 11th edition, which is by far the most fun edition I've ever played, mind you, where they are hidden if they are obscured by dense terrain. Now they're going to be gone to ground, so you can't even shoot them unless you're within 12 inches of them. Then they are going to be -1 to your Blizzard skill due to cover, and now they're also going to have armor of contempt at all times shooting and in melee. This makes them incredibly durable. In addition to this, they did get a buff to their combat profile. Granted, they also lose the abilities of the old WA, which was much more impactful than the new WA is, but it's okay. Because they have a base +1 to weapon skill on their power claw, which is now comes in at a base of strength 10, which is effectively strength 10 power fist for those of you who don't know. They also gained a base of +1 damage to their kill saw, meaning that you can take these guys with flat damage 3 attacks. Now, of course, that does hit on 4s, it doesn't hit on 3s, but it is worth understanding. And those also cost 5 points additional per saw taken on the unit. In addition to this, their ability for being when they're riled up, which is the new Orc WA, which remember, you can be riled up at multiple times. It's not only the 1 turn of the WA. They gain +1 to hit. Meaning if you're using the power claw profile, they're hitting on 2s. If you're using the kill saw, they'll be hitting on 3s, which is pretty dang good. Now, one of my favorite things about this new unit, one of the reasons why I'm really, really liking them, is they no longer need to be led. In the previous edition, you had to pay a character tax for them. You had to take a War Boss and Mega Armor, which wasn't very good, just to give the +1 hit to the unit because they hit on 4's base. You no longer need that. They actually function without that character tax, which I think means that the unit is ultimately going to be slightly cheaper than it would have been last edition if you were taken. But the addition of that armor contempt is really, really sweet. Now, they no longer have the Feel No Pain in the WA like they used to, which does decrease the durability in certain scenarios. But with just a baseline of T6 to up armor save and armor contempt, and they do have a 5-up invulnerable save. Not that you'll get to the 5-up invulnerable save most times, seeing as they have armor contempt. These guys have becoming a true menace. Now, if you want to run them, what you get to do is you could run them in either Bully Boys. Well, you're going to run them in Bully Boys if you run them, because that detachment is going to be giving them sustained hits, and it gives them a really, really cool stratagem, which gives them access to re-roll hit rolls when they're riled up, or re-roll hit rolls of 1 when they're not. Remember, when they are riled up, they hit on 2s with power claws, 3 with kill saws, which means suddenly you can just be fishing for those sustained hits that they get from that detachment. It's a very, very interesting unit. You could also combine them with the Green Tide detachment because then they will be gaining lethals on the charge, although I don't think that's nearly as big a deal. So that is my pick for the number 5 slot of units that you really need to be looking out for, is these new Mek Gunz. I am currently building a list where I'm going to be running 18 of them. I think it's really, really cool. It might be a little bit too much, and I might have to edit it a little bit as we go along, but that's one of my first experiments that I'm running with. So I love the Mek Gunz. Let's go on into the number 4 unit that you need to be looking out for. This is going to be the almighty Killa Kanz. Killa Kanz, fine, I said it. All right, Killa Kanz, you guys have it. Now, these guys got a massive, massive glow up in the new codex. In the previous codex, they were, I don't want to say unusable, but they were very, very challenging to use. Namely because they were so darn slow. They had a base move of 6. Now, the new codex, they got +2 to that move. So now they move base 8. They did go up in points cost. They went up from 120 to 130 for a 3-man, and they went up from, I think it was 240 to 260 for a 6-man. And I think this is very warranted because they got a glow up in their ability to perform the game. That just straight up taking their movement from move 6 to move 8 makes it much easier for them to perform. Now, in 11th edition, the fact that you only have to touch terrain to see through it as opposed to being wholly within is also a really big buff for them because now their shooting becomes significantly more interesting in a lot of scenarios, right? Now, in addition to this, they have, thank you, GW. Thank you so much. They have consolidated all of the weapon profiles into one kind of big, like, conglomerate weapon profile. Instead of having to take like 3 different guns and being worried about modeling problems, now you get to choose one of 3 profiles when you activate their shooting. You can go with a Con Blasta, which is Blast 1. It has Ignores Cover baked in with Sustained Hits 1. It's 4 attacks each. Hits on 4s, Strength 6, AP 1, Damage 1. It's a very, very good profile for infantry clearing. Or you can run with the Kill Shot profile, which is 2 shots, hits on 4s, Strength 10, AP 2, Damage 3. Great against those elites. And then you also have the Point Blank, which is going to be Blast 2 with Torrent, 3 shots, Strength 5, AP 1, Damage 1. So they can also still blast pretty well if they get stuck into melee. In addition to that, their melee profile is still fine. That 3 attacks each, weapon skill 4 up, Strength 8, AP 2, Damage 3. Now, their ability dramatically increases their usefulness because when they target a unit that has a toughness of less than 7, they get +1 to hit, meaning these guys are infantry and elite cleaving machines. It means all of that shooting is going to be hitting on 3s, especially the Ignore profile shot, which just doesn't care about hitting. Which doesn't care about cover, right? So they're hitting on 3s in most scenarios against the things that they actually want to be hitting. Against bigger targets, they're hitting on 4s, which, not the best, but it is what it is. So that +1 hit is a very, very big deal. Now, here's where the super, super, super duper fun stuff starts coming in. If we were to take a look-see at some of the combinations that we can pile into these guys, you can take them in the Dread Mob detachment, which gives them a variety of different abilities. Orcs Walkers units, which these are walkers, will get to roll up to 2 times on the Dread Mod table every single time they activate. And when you roll on a 1 or 2, you can get +1 attack, or +1 strength rather. On a 3 or 4, +1 attack, and +1 attack, +2 strength, and then +2 AP. So whatever dice roll it is, those are your 3 options. The really, really exciting thing about this is that in Dread Mob, you get to roll twice, and you get to re-roll if you have the same result. And you keep to re-rolling until you have 2 different results. So you're guaranteed to always get 2 of those results, which means when these guys start shooting, they can be +2 strength, plus AP, and then +1 attack, which is a very, very profound deal when you're talking about these profiles. That takes them to really threatening quite a bit of stuff, even if they're not benefiting from the +1 to hit. In addition to that, Dread Mob has a lot of other really, really cool options for you. You actually have access to a stratagem that will allow you to gain mobile. And when you have mobile, oh boy, now suddenly these guys are actually able to move through walls. And I just want to check myself real fast. It's +1 attack, +2 strength, and +1 AP are the buffs that you can get from it. Very, very powerful. So now you can get mobile with a stratagem. Dread Mob absolutely loves these guys. And in addition to that, you can also run them in Warhorde, where in Warhorde you have the one stratagem to give yourself rapid fire when you're targeted in the shooting phase. Also very, very powerful for these guys with a very, very good shooting profile. Not to mention, everyone loves sustained hits. So there are a lot of pretty dang cool things that you can do with this unit. I love Killa Kanz. I'm pretty much guaranteed to be taking 6. 12 is calling my name, though. 12 is definitely calling my name. All right, moving on to one that you're going to see in every single list. I can pretty much guarantee because the internet is on fire with them right now. Let's talk about the almighty pirate boys themselves. We have the flashiest of Gitz. These guys. Talk about a glow up. Now, they did go up in points costs very, very significantly. I think they went up well over 36%, and they deserved it because they got so much more powerful in the new edition of 40k. First off, they did gain a wound. So now they are 3 wounds each, not 2 wounds each, which is a significant amount of durability buff for the flash kits themselves. I do like that a lot. It means that you don't just shoot them with 2 plasma guns and wipe the squad. Let's break some stuff down. All right. You have 3 different shooting modes. The first mode that you're familiar with is going to be their normal gun. It's 3 attacks. It's going to be hitting on 4s, because they hit on 4s base now. Orks can shoot. Strength 6, AP 1, damage 2. And it still has sustained hits, and it will gain lethal hits against non-monsters vehicles. Previously, they had a once per game ability to get lethal hits. So this is against non-monster vehicles, but now they just always have lethal hits and against things that are non-monster vehicles, and they always have sustained hits on this profile. It's very powerful. Then they gain a melta gun profile. Let me say that again. Yes, you can choose to use a melta gun profile on these guys. Coming in at a range of 12, strength 9, AP 3, and D3 plus 2 damage. Melta. Now, the D3 plus 2 is baked into the data sheet, which means the plus 2, when they're in Melta range, it will be an actual Melta range, so it'll be D3 plus 4 damage. Of course, that's not the easiest thing to actually get, because it is only 12-inch range, so the likelihood that you're going to be pulling that one off very often, probably pretty low, but man, it's going to be glorious when it absolutely happens. And then lastly, they have a pretty good anti-elite infantry shooting profile as well. This one will give them the hazardous keyword. This is the kill shot profile. It's going to have a 36 inches of range, 2 shots, ballistic skill 4 up, strength 8, AP 2, and damage 2, which is very, very powerful. It's a very, very good profile. So there you have it. It's just a little bit of a longer range on their guns. Now, their ability is so interesting, because one of the things I've historically played Orks is Orks have very low AP output. No longer, not in this edition. Our units might be way more expensive, but we are not having to worry about AP anymore, because the flashiest of Gitz, when they are on an objective or shooting an enemy unit that is on an objective, plus 1 AP. That takes that strength 6, AP 1 to AP 2 damage 2. That takes that melta gun from strength 9, AP 3, D3 plus 2 damage to strength 9, AP 4. It takes the kill shot gun, which is a 36-inch range, to strength 8, AP 3 damage 2. Makes them very, 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 very interesting. Now, how interesting can we actually make them? Because we're going to have to add some things in here. Let's talk about their leaders. You're going to lead them with a big mech who can now lead them. The big mech, his ability now gives you an auto 6-inch advance roll, which means you're guaranteed to move these guys 12 inches. That's a lot in the WA. And remember, in the WA, when you're riled up in the current codex, you gain assault, which means these guys will absolutely be able to utilize the profiles that they're going to be shooting with, because they can just guarantee to go 12 inches. 15 inches if you stack that with a disembark. So you go 3-inch disembark, 12-inch auto advance. Boom. These guys will get within range to shoot the thing that they are trying to shoot. The big mech will also bless them with his other ability to give them ignores cover. So now they're actually going to be hitting on 4s. So for those of you who love flash kits but you hate missing your targets, well, now you're actually going to hit your targets like 50% of the time, which is an incredible glow up for the Orks League. It's unbelievably big glow up. And if we want to take this one step further, when that unit is riled up, the big mech will also give them access to sustained hits on everything. So sustained hits meltas feels good in my soul. I feel that right here. It feels good in my soul. Now, let's take it one step further, because these guys you're always going to be wanting to run in the Rekka's detachment. The Rekka's detachment really targets your Breaker Boys, your Tank Busters, and your flashiest of Gitz. Now, the Breaker Boys is hilarious because the buff doesn't apply to them at all. I don't even understand why GW included them, because the buff means nothing to them, but you do get to reroll hit rolls of 1 in the shooting phase when you're utilizing these units when you run this detachment. That means all these flash kits suddenly honestly hitting on 4s, rerolling hit rolls of 1, allows them to increase their accuracy relatively significantly. But the real big key here is there's an upgrade, which I think it was about 20 points. I can't remember this juncture. That's okay. But it gives them rapid fire 1 on all their gun profiles. Yes, folks, you heard it here. If you can possibly get within 6 inches for your melta guns, you could get rapid fire melta gun on this, which is very, very powerful. It gives you the extra shots that you really need to punch through. So flash kits have a lot of combos. You could also take them in shooter boys, give them an additional 3 inches of range, which could extend that stuff even more. There's a couple other ways you can buff them, but flash kits are very good. They are incredibly expensive, though. At 210, when you give them that big mech, they are going to come in at a cost of 295, and that's before your upgrade. So you are spending for them, but they are just so, there's so much utility you have with them that I think it's a very, very good choice to pay attention to. Let's move on to the number 2 unit choice. You love them. You know them. It's the big Mek Dakka Rig. It's the truliest, biggest of the mechs. This guy is an absolute nightmare for people to have to deal with. And let's just say, man, I love him, and I'm going to be taking 3 of them. Like, it's just the way it is. The big Mek Dakka Rig was already, in my opinion, the main issue for Orks from the Orks Codex previously before this Codex was released. I thought that was the main thing that actually added just too much to the Orks. That's why the Orks win rate was a little too high. That's how I felt, especially when I took it to like the second top. I was the second top scorer at the World Teams Championship. I credit that to my Dakka rigs. I think that they just really brought it out. Well, in the new edition, they went up, so they were previously 115 points, and now they are 135 points. So they did go up relatively significantly. And if you take a third, you'll pay a unit tax to make them 145 points. But this shooting has been dramatically buffed. First off, they ignore cover, so you don't necessarily need to worry about getting your heavy buff. So your Blitzer cannon, which is their main gun, is currently going to be 4s for Blitzer skill, which means you don't need the heavy and you already ignore cover. So you're just always going to be hitting on 4s with that. Very, very, very powerful. And you're hitting on 5s based with your missiles. Now the Blitz cannon also just gained lethals against non-monsters vehicles. Okay. And when he is riled up, he gets sustained hits. So he's not always sustained hits, only when he's riled up. But due to the fact that you're playing New Codex Orks, there are multiple different ways to get your units riled up, which means he's probably always going to have sustained hits. Then his missiles, which are still hitting on 5, strength 10, AP 2, damage 3, are also going to get sustained hits when he's riled up. It's a very, very big increase in the amount of damage that he can do. If we want to make this guy to the next level, though, let's take him to the next level. Let's take him in the Dread Mob Detachment, where, remember, you can get +1 attack, you can get +1 AP, you can get +2 strength to your weapons. This takes him into a very different category of units, and the only issue with that is that then you have to roll a hazardous roll for the unit. So that dramatically increases his damage right off the bat. But even more importantly, you can give him an enhancement. And yes, I will be doing this in every game that I play. I'm going to give this big Mek Dakka Rig an enhancement to give him loan up when he was within 3 inches of an Orks Walker unit. Did we talk about another Orks Walker unit in this list? Perhaps 6 Killa Kanz? Because when you give him that enhancement that makes him loan up within 3, he also gives the unit that he is within 3 of reroll hit rolls of 1. So now we have those Killa Kanz that are running out with all their shooting. If they're targeting something that's less than T7, they're going to be +1 hit, so they're hitting on 3s, they're rerolling hit rolls of 1, while you got the big Mek Dakka Rig who's right next to him, who is blown up, so you can't really even interact with him, while he is just obliterating opponents. This is a sick combination, and I think the big Mek Dakka Rig, honestly, is one of the few units in the Orks Codex that is a little undercosted. Orks Codex is actually very, very expensive. I do believe that was a very good choice for GW because they're going to come out a little too expensive and they can reduce the cost on most things over the course of the game, over the course of the edition. But the big Mek Dakka Rig might actually still be a little too cheap. He might need to be like 145 base and go up to 155 for the third. So awesome unit. And I'm almost certainly going to be running 3. And you better believe my loan up one is going to be painted purple because that's just what's going to happen. All right, and then for the number 1 unit, this one is a doozy, and I bet you guys didn't know what it is. It's the Mek Gun. Like, I can't believe I'm saying this, but, like, it's the Mek Gun. The humble Mek Gun, I think, is probably the best unit in the Orks Codex, which blew me away when I was reading this profile. Like, it kind of stuns me when I said this, but, man, I'm going to make my argument right now. You might disagree with me. You'd be wrong. Well, you're not necessarily wrong, but my goodness, 55 points a model. These guys, right off the rip, they went from move 3 to move 5, which makes them actually mobile. That's a very, very big deal. Stack that with the new wall mechanics so that when you're riled up, everything in the army gets assault. So now I can advance and shoot these guys. Then I can lead them with a big mech and mega armor, which means I can have them led. The big mech and mega armor will give them ignore cover. He also gives them sustained hits when the unit is riled up, which you're going to need these things riled up because they're going to be advancing and shooting. Then he gives them a 4-up invulnerable save against shooting attacks, which dramatically increases their durability as well. And then let's start talking about the actual weapon profiles. Now, these things hit on 4's base because they are aggression. And since you're going to be leading them with that big mech and mega armor, they will be ignoring cover. So here are your different weapon profile choices. You can take bubble chuckas on them. Bubble chuckas are kind of a hilarious profile. It's 48 inches of range, blast 3 with lethal hits. It's lethal hits against everything, not just, so it's lethal hits against everything. It's going to be strength 3, AP 3, damage 1. These things will basically clear every horde in the game exceptionally well. That AP3 is a really, really funky profile. It also means that with the sheer volume of shots that you might have out of it, you might be able to plink some wounds off of some bigger things as well when you take into account the lethal hits on them. And it's not made for bigger things. It's really made for hordes. But Blast 3 on these profiles with 8 attack space means that they're going to be doing some work into hordes. Now, of course, you're typically not going to be able to shoot hordes with them because the hordes will generally be hidden. So keep that in perspective. But remember, move 5 with Assault. Take them in from Strategic Reserve, you might get something. Now, here's some of the profiles that I'm a little bit more excited about. We have the Custom Mega Cannon. It is Blast 1. It's also hazardous. Hits on 4s, but it comes in at D3 plus 1 shots at Strength 12, AP 2, flat damage 4. Historically, what are one of the units that Orcs struggle with the most? It's going to be your elite infantry. Well, this is going to be wounding all your elite infantry on 2s and flat damage 4, meaning you're going to be cleaving through those Terminator-style bodies. It's a very, very big deal, and I think the profile is kind of awesome. Then we have the Smash-A-Gun, which comes in with a Blast 1. It is going to be 4 shots, hits on 4s as well, Strength 7, AP 3, damage 3. A very, very good weapon when you're talking about going into those elite profiles as well. It's not as good into the monsters and vehicles like the Custom Mega Cannon is. So for me, honestly, I think I'm going to be generally equipping these with Custom Mega Cannons. But as we'll get into, there might be an argument for the Smash-A-Gun. And then lastly, we have the Tracta Cannon, which is also quite a cool option. This thing comes in with, at 48-inch range, 2 shots, hits on 4s, Strength 6, AP 2, D3 plus 3, but it is anti-infantry, or I'm sorry, not anti-infantry, pardon me, it is anti-fly 2 up. So we can actually deal some damage to your Satans and to your Flyers, which is a very, 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 very cool thing, which is something that Orcs really struggle with because Flyers will be present in 11th. They just will be from what we can see with design choices that GW is making. So Tracta Cannon is a pretty cool option. Now, in addition to this, the Mek Guns have a ability that goes along with whatever gun they're equipped with. In order for these abilities to be utilized, every Mek Gun in the unit must have the same gun, which is a very important detail that a lot of people may have missed. But if you have the Bubble Chukka, which is the anti-infantry one, what's going to end up happening is that when you shoot your opponent, that unit will then be giving cover to anything that they shoot at. That was confusing. Let me say it again. If I shoot a unit of Imperial Guardsmen, for example, now those Imperial Guardsmen gain the status Wobbled. While the Imperial Guardsmen are wobbled, everything they shoot will have cover. Interesting. Then we have the Custom Mega Cannon. Now, this is probably the best gun in my opinion. This is the D3 plus 1 shots with blast. It's got Strength 12, AP 2, damage 4 flat. When it shoots you, you will become zapped. And when a unit is zapped, they will be -1 leadership until the start of your next turn, you being the Orc player, which could be useful-ish in certain scenarios, especially if you're trying to go for like a Battle Shock build, which there are ways to do Battle Shock builds. Then we have the Smash-A-Gun. Now, this is the best ability for me, even though it's not the best gun. So one thing that I might consider doing is taking a lone Smash-A-Gun just to put this ability. When the Smash-A-Gun shoots, that unit becomes smashed. And when they're smashed, they have -2 movement. There are no qualifiers here, meaning it doesn't matter if it's a flyer, it doesn't matter if it's a monster or a vehicle, it's just -2 to move. There are some slow units in the game that -2 to movement can just shut them down. Terminators now only move 3. That's really, really bad for them. A lot of your monsters and vehicles that are at that like move 10, now moving 8, can really screw up where they can end up at. It's a very, very decent debuff, and I like it a lot. And then lastly, you have the Tractor Cannon. When you shoot someone with the Tractor Cannon, they become grounded, and when a unit is grounded, now they cannot take to the skies. That's what it does. So these are the Mek Guns. Running these guys at a base of 55 points per model is amazing to me. And I'm probably going to be running 4. 1 unit of 3 with a Custom Mega Cannons, and then 1 Smash-A-Gun with, or 1 solo with a Smash-A-Gun. That's how I'm thinking I'm going to be doing this. And let me know your thoughts down below. Now, these are the units that I have chosen to watch for. There's a lot of great units in the Orks Codex, and there's some that I'm not very happy with. Long live my Squidcog boys. Holy crap. They're so bad now. Anyway, but everything else, the Codex is awesome. There's so many cool like detachment buffs that you can do. You could run like these Mek Gunz, for example, in the Madcap mechs, which if there's a big mech leading them, now you get to roll on the big mech table, which does some pretty cool, funky things. There's so many different combinations in this books that I can't wait to start diving into the detachment specifically, but I wanted to get you guys out these really, really cool units, and I want your thoughts on them down below. What are the units that you're most excited for, and what do you think are the ones that are going to cause problems in the meta? Honestly, I don't think the Orks Codex as a whole is going to cause that many issues in the meta. They are very, very expensive. That doesn't mean it's not good, and I'm not crying about it because I do think the units are good, but they are quite expensive, and it is going to be a little bit less strong than what I took to the WTC a few weeks ago. So I think Orks kind of got a nerf, but that's okay because they kind of needed a nerf. But they got so much flavor and cool ways to build the army. I think all Ork players are super, super happy. So, guys, I'm going to end it there. I want to know your thoughts down below about what are some of the Ork units that you're concerned about or that you think are going to be the coolest ones to be running. Yes, the Stompa is actually usable, and I'm very excited about that. So just leave you with that thought. Okay, guys, until next time, crub on. Bye-bye.